Beautiful day, Patriots. How are ya? We're just gonna stare at the carrots right now as the sun's going down, and we're gonna talk about Q. My name is Gregory Hamilton. I talk to Q, and Q talks back. And I stated probably around somewhere 2019. Hi, Piggy. That I know more about the Q drops than anybody else. And it appears that it still stands that way. How egotistical, conceited could that person be to claim that? That's what people have said for a few years now. That how dare somebody say they know more about the Q drops than any other person in the world? Well, if you just want to use logic, there has to be one person in the world that knows more than anyone else. We can't all know the same. There has to be somebody in the world that knows more about the Q drops than anyone else that's not part of the Q team. I've got books and documentation and notebooks and proof everywhere. Okay, now that's, like I say, I've challenged this or asked people, and here's what I want to then now go into this next quick little step of Q, is that if the Q community really wanted to help humanity and help each other, they would love to have a person come up and say they know so much so that they can be questioned and asked and analyzed, or maybe even learn from them. If you go into Twitter now and look at the Q community and Twitter and stuff, they're doing all the same stuff as they did 3 years ago. They're now trying to barely get into the stuff that I've been teaching for years in the Q community. How egotistical. Well, I stayed with it for a long time to show what a fraud and fake it is. All the way up to the end, I kept staying in there showing that the Q and the AI is real. It is real, it's there, it's happening. The comms are there, the communications are there. It's all real. But the Q community, you know, like I said before, shun that information, which just goes to show, like I say, how it's just like government. The Q community is like the government. They're not really there to help anybody. They're there to make it continue and go on and on and on and on and on. There's more people in the Q community that watch the news and try to compare the news, the media, to the Q drops. Does that make any sense at all? To use the enemy, which is the media, as proof for Q drops, how it lines up, ridiculous, okay? Now, what I'm getting into now, okay? Like I say, I'd still go up against anybody under any circumstance, under any media outlet, to talk about Q and how I know more about how the communications work within the Q drops than any other person in the entire world. My name is Gregory Hamilton. I talk to Q and Q talks back. Now, during my journey on Twitter, there was many things that I was doing that I was able to observe in myself that I didn't like about myself. One of them was the pure hatred that comes from politics. And Q is nothing but politics, exposing politics. One of the tricks of the trade within the evil cabal, whatever you want to call it, they have to tell you future events to get away from their karma. So if you follow along blindly, they've already told you that it's disinformation must be. Does that make sense? Right? Isn't that what they say, Q and Q? Disinformation is real. Okay? And you can see this along the Q community. All they try to do is divide. It's the same thing as in reality, in real world. It's nothing about division, and hate. And hate and hate and hate. Now, one of the things that when, like the deception within the Q community is insanity. Absolutely insanity. Now, I'm going to go into something that's really kind of funny, because when I was doing Twitter in the Q community, I had a lot of people that would follow my channel publicly and openly. One of the persons that followed my channel Could have been a fluke, could have been an accident, I don't know. They didn't follow very many people on Twitter. They kept it under 500, I believe, and they only have under 300 people that they're publicly following right now. That's, you know, after the Great Purge. And it could, like I say, it could have been a complete fluke, accident, but I had a lot of these type of bizarre, weird accidents happen to me of certain people that would follow my channel. And like I said, I don't know if they watched my work or if they were watching or listening. I hope not, because I'm embarrassed of how much, you know, like screaming and yelling and cussing at the ether, trying to convince people that dead people aren't alive. You know, waiting for John F. Kennedy Jr. If you follow my channel and we listen to Michael, he's talking about how the Great Deception is going to be, and it's going to be so easy to people to fall into the trap. That's going to be a really easy one for the Q community. If aliens or the devil or any of this type of deception says, hey, you guys want to go see JFK Jr., Prince, Madonna, or excuse me, Princess Di, every single person that's ever been dead, you want to go see them? They're alive. They're right over here. How many people in the community would go and follow that? How many? A lot. A lot. How many people automatically would just follow government blindly? See, we're all on this string. Everybody said that all these conspiracies through my whole life would never happen, could never happen, that food would not be important. Well, this past year, that was a weird year. Almost like it was a conspiracy thing happened, and it still continues. So, what I'm trying to talk about, I am convinced that I know more about Q than any other living person on the earth. Of the Q drops, I can decipher more Q drops than any other person on the face of the earth. Never been challenged, never people want to come up and interview it or do it. It is what it is. Now to the point. Talking about somebody that followed me publicly on Twitter. I just went over and looked at it was a pastor. He's a pastor. Okay. Now, I listened to a full pastor, his preaching, his teaching today. Just got done watching it. Just got done watching it. It was an hour and 10 minutes. And it blew me away. It was the first time I've ever actually watched a full sermon of his. It was today, just now. And like I say, I wouldn't even know of this person if it wasn't for them publicly following my Twitter page in the past. That's how I found out who this person was. And then I was like, wait a minute, this guy followed me. I heard the rumors, and I was like, wait a minute. Now, I want you to look at who I'm talking about. I just put him in my likes video. This is Pastor Bob Joyce. You can find him on Twitter. And Pastor Bob Joyce. J-O-Y. Joyce, I-C-E, I believe. Pastor Bob Joyce. Now, you in the Q community are going to recognize the name. And you that are not in the Q community, you're going to possibly recognize the person's voice. Now, I've personally listened to a lot of his songs that he's sung as Pastor Bob Joyce. It was absolutely hysterical watching his pinned tweet on YouTube, his pinned video of 9 years ago, asking somebody, an impersonator, to, how's the song go? How does the song go? And then hit it just amazingly, you know, like, oh, I've never heard this song before. Hysterical. But regardless, the message that this pastor is talking about is Jesus Christ, only Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is new and will always be new. Jesus changes a person like this. Doesn't mean you become a non-sinner like that. That's not how that works, or how be free of your bond. It's a process still, but it changes like this. Now, I want you to watch this man, this Pastor Bob Joyce, on his on 8/8/2021, and I want to ask you to ask yourself, if this is that man, he gave up Every single thing. Look at it. For who? For Jesus Christ. God bless you. God bless.